the world's most dangerous countries. Have you ever wondered where the most dangerous places on Earth are right now? Not just based on what we see in the headlines, but in real time, with real people living in fear, running from bullets, and praying for peace every single day? Many regions around the world are facing unimaginable levels of violence, conflict, and chaos. The world is witnessing a storm of insecurity unlike anything we've seen in recent years. This isn't just about politics or statistics, it's about human lives. In this video, we're going to take you on a journey, a deep, honest look into the most dangerous countries in the world. You'll learn not just where these dangers are happening, but why they've gotten worse, how they're affecting everyday people, and what the future might look like. But before we continue, kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our powerful, real-world updates. 1. Sudan, a nation in crisis. Sudan has been engulfed in a brutal civil war since April 2023, following a power struggle between the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF. This conflict has led to widespread violence, particularly in the Darfur region, where over 200 civilians have been killed in recent attacks on displacement camps. The RSF's actions have been described as genocidal, with reports of atrocities against civilians, including aid workers and medical personnel. The United Nations has condemned these attacks, and the International Rescue Committee has labeled the crisis as the biggest humanitarian crisis ever recorded. The conflict has displaced over 12 million people, with millions facing famine and a lack of basic necessities. Cultural heritage sites, such as Sudan's National Museum, have been looted or destroyed, further eroding the nation's identity with no end in sight. 2. Somalia, a state of lawlessness. Somalia continues to grapple with instability and violence, making it one of the most dangerous countries globally. The absence of a strong central government has allowed militant groups like Al-Shabaab to thrive. These groups frequently carry out attacks on civilians, government officials, and foreign nationals. Piracy off the Somali coast remains a significant threat to international shipping routes. The United States Department of State has issued a Level 4 "Do Not Travel" warning for Somalia, reflecting the severe risks associated with visiting the country. The ongoing conflict and lawlessness have led to widespread displacement and a humanitarian crisis. Efforts to stabilize the country have been hampered by internal divisions and external interventions, leaving Somalia entrenched in its perilous state. 3. Yemen, a humanitarian disaster. Yemen has been embroiled in a devastating civil war since 2014, involving Houthi rebels, the internationally recognized government, and a Saudi-led coalition. This conflict has resulted in thousands of deaths and has created one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. The United Nations reports that over 80% of Yemen's population requires humanitarian assistance, with millions facing food insecurity and lack of access to basic services. In 2025, the situation has worsened. The United States has conducted over 200 airstrikes in Yemen, targeting Houthi positions in response to attacks on maritime shipping routes. These strikes have resulted in civilian casualties and further destabilized the region. The conflict has also led to the destruction of infrastructure, including hospitals and schools, exacerbating the suffering of the civilian population, with no comprehensive peace agreement in sight. 4. Haiti, the struggles of a nation. Haiti has become one of the most dangerous countries in the world, and the situation has only worsened in recent years. As of 2025, the country is caught in a downward spiral of violence, instability, and political turmoil. For many, Haiti is seen as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and its challenges have deepened over time. In 2021, gang violence became a major issue in the capital, Port-au-Prince. Gangs control large parts of the city and even other regions of the country. This has made daily life dangerous for ordinary Haitians, as well as travelers. The gangs are involved in drug trafficking, kidnapping, and extortion, making it hard for the government to maintain any real control. Political instability is also a significant factor. Haiti has struggled with poor governance for decades. After the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in 2021, the country was left without stable leadership. Since then, the political landscape has been fragmented, with rival factions trying to take control. In 2025, the country is essentially ruled by gang leaders rather than the government. This instability makes it one of the most hazardous places to live or visit. Travelers should be especially cautious when considering trips to Haiti. Many areas, especially Site Soleil and Bel Air, are known as no-go zones. The risks of being caught in crossfire or becoming a victim of kidnapping are high. While international organizations and some government officials are working to restore order, the situation remains dire. 5. Iraq, a land of conflict. Iraq, once known for its rich history and culture, has been battling violence and instability for years. As of 2025, the country is still recovering from the damage caused by war and internal conflict. The Iraq War, which began in 2003, brought significant destruction to the country. Although the war officially ended in 2011, the effects are still felt today. In 2014, the rise of ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, brought a new wave of terror. While ISIS has lost most of its territory, the group still operates in some areas, contributing to the continued violence in the country. The security situation remains fragile in 2025. Iraq still faces threats from both ISIS and other militant groups. Furthermore, there are ongoing tensions between various ethnic and religious groups, including Sunni and Shia Muslims as well as Kurds. These divisions often lead to violent clashes and make it difficult for Iraq to establish long-term peace. Travelers are advised to stay away from many regions in Iraq, particularly those in the north and west. Although Baghdad, the capital, has become somewhat safer, it is still a high-risk area. The presence of armed groups, roadside bombs, and the threat of kidnapping are constant dangers. 6. Mexico, a nation torn by cartels. Mexico has long been known for its beautiful landscapes, vibrant culture, and rich history. However, in 2025, the country is also known for something much darker: its ongoing battle with drug cartels. These criminal organizations have created a violent environment, making large portions of Mexico extremely dangerous. The violence in Mexico is primarily driven by the country's powerful drug cartels. These cartels, such as the Sinaloa Cartel and the Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generation, CJNG, are involved in illegal activities like drug trafficking, extortion, and money laundering. As they fight for control over key regions, their violent conflicts have spread to several states, including popular tourist destinations like Cancun, Tulum, and Puerto Vallarta. In addition to cartel violence, Mexico is also struggling with corruption, weak law enforcement, and limited government control in some areas. This makes it difficult for authorities to combat the cartels effectively. Travelers should be cautious when visiting regions that are known for high levels of violence, such as the border areas in states like Michoacán, Guerrero, and parts of Veracruz. While some tourist areas remain relatively safe, it is important to stay informed and exercise caution. 7. Venezuela, a country in crisis. Venezuela, once one of the richest countries in South America, has become one of the most dangerous countries in the world by 2025. The nation's ongoing political and economic crisis has created a perfect storm of instability. The crisis in Venezuela began in the late 1990s when Hugo Chavez, the country's president at the time, implemented socialist policies that drained the economy. After Chavez's death in 2013, his successor, Nicolas Maduro, inherited a nation in decline. By 2025, Venezuela's economy is in shambles, and millions of people have fled the country in search of a better life. But the economic collapse isn't the only issue. Venezuela is also plagued by political unrest and violence. Protests have broken out regularly as the government has cracked down on opposition. Meanwhile, violent crime rates have skyrocketed, and Caracas, the capital, has one of the highest homicide rates in the world. Travelers should be extremely cautious about visiting Venezuela. Criminal activities such as robbery, kidnapping, and assault are common, particularly in urban areas. With ongoing shortages of food, medicine, and basic supplies, daily life is a struggle for many citizens, and the risk of being targeted as a foreigner is high. 8. Afghanistan. A legacy of conflict and uncertainty. Afghanistan, a landlocked nation in South Asia, has endured decades of conflict and instability. Since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, the country has faced significant challenges affecting its security and daily life. Afghanistan's modern history is marked by invasions and internal strife. The Soviet invasion in 1979 led to a decade-long war, followed by civil conflict and the rise of the Taliban in the 1990s. The U.S. invasion in 2001 ousted the Taliban, but insurgency continued. In August 2021, the Taliban regained control, leading to widespread changes. Under Taliban rule, Afghanistan has experienced a reduction in large-scale combat, but faces numerous security challenges. Insurgent activities. While the Taliban controls most of the country, insurgent groups like ISIS-K continue to conduct attacks, targeting civilians and security forces. Human rights concerns. The Taliban's policies have led to restrictions on women's rights, freedom of speech, and increased persecution of minority groups. Economic hardships. International sanctions and reduced foreign aid have crippled Afghanistan's economy, leading to widespread poverty and unemployment. Many countries, including the United States and the United Kingdom, have issued Level 4 travel advisories for Afghanistan, advising against all travel due to risks of terrorism, kidnapping, and civil unrest. The U.S. Department of State highlights the challenges in providing consular assistance in Afghanistan, further emphasizing the risks involved. 9. Syria. Enduring conflict and humanitarian crisis. Syria, located in the Middle East, has been embroiled in a devastating civil war since 2011. The conflict has drawn in various international powers and led to significant loss of life and displacement. Origins of the conflict. The war began as part of the Arab Spring protests, with demands for democratic reforms. The government's violent crackdown on demonstrators escalated into a full-scale civil war, attracting various rebel groups and foreign interventions. The current situation. Fragmented control. Syria is divided among the Assad regime, opposition forces, Kurdish groups, and ISIS remnants, leading to complex and shifting front lines. Humanitarian disaster. Hundreds of thousands have been killed and millions displaced, both internally and as refugees abroad. Access to basic necessities like food, water, and healthcare remains limited. International involvement. Countries like Russia and Iran support the Assad regime, while the U.S. and Turkey back various opposition groups, complicating peace efforts. Travel advisory. Syria is under a Level 4 travel advisory from many nations, including the U.S. and the U.K., due to ongoing conflict, risk of kidnapping, and limited consular support. The U.S. Department of State warns of the unpredictable security situation and the potential for violence. 10. Ukraine. From revolution to ongoing conflict. Ukraine, in Eastern Europe, has experienced significant political and military upheaval over the past decade. The situation remains fluid, with ongoing conflicts affecting the nation's stability. Euromaidan protests. 2013 to 2014 protests erupted over President Yanukovych's decision to reject an association agreement with the European Union, leading to his ousting. Annexation of Crimea. 2014 Russia's annexation of Crimea and support for separatists in eastern Ukraine resulted in ongoing conflict in the Donbass region. Conflict in eastern Ukraine. Despite ceasefire agreements, skirmishes continue between Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed separatists. Economic and political reforms. Ukraine faces challenges in implementing reforms, combating corruption, and stabilizing its economy. Ukraine is subject to varying travel advisories, with some countries recommending caution due to the potential for conflict, especially in the eastern regions. The U.S. Department of State advises travelers to exercise increased caution and stay updated on the security situation. 11. Nigeria. Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, remains one of the most dangerous places to live in 2025. Ongoing violence, terrorism, and ethnic clashes continue to threaten lives, property, and national stability. In the northeast, Boko Haram and ISWAP, Islamic State West Africa Province, have resurged. Despite military efforts, attacks on villages, highways, and military bases are increasing. In April 2025, a roadside bomb planted by suspected Boko Haram fighters exploded on the busy Damboa-Maiduguri road, killing 8 passengers and injuring many more. Governor Babagana Zulum confirmed that the terrorists are once again seizing territory and forcing residents to flee. In the Middle Belt region, especially Plateau, Benue states and Southeast state, Fulani herdsmen continue deadly clashes with farming communities. These attacks are often brutal and sudden. The situation is further worsened by sabotage in oil-producing regions like Bayelsa. In April 2025, Oando plc reported 3 pipeline attacks in 1 week. These acts cripple oil production, which is Nigeria's main source of revenue. Despite government efforts, including new military equipment purchases and regional collaboration, insecurity continues to disrupt lives across Nigeria. With terrorism, communal violence, and economic sabotage on the rise, Nigeria remains a deeply troubled country in 2025. 12. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, and the Republic of the Congo, security and danger in 2025. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, and the Republic of the Congo are 2 neighboring countries located in Central Africa. Despite their proximity, these nations are facing distinct security challenges, making them some of the most dangerous places to live in 2025. Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. The DRC, home to over 100 million people, has struggled with conflict and instability for decades. The country has been plagued by armed groups, ethnic violence, and the fight for control over its vast mineral resources. The situation worsened in recent years with the resurgence of armed militias, especially in the eastern regions of North and South Kivu. One of the most notorious armed groups, the Allied Democratic Forces (ADF), is linked to numerous massacres in villages. In early 2025, the ADF was blamed for the killings of over 50 people in the Ituri province. These groups often target civilians, leading to a humanitarian crisis. The United Nations peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO, has been in the country for years, but has struggled to restore peace in the face of violent insurgencies. Another issue is the resource exploitation in the DRC. The country is rich in minerals like cobalt and coltan, which are essential for global tech industries. However, these resources have fueled conflict, as various rebel groups and foreign actors vie for control of mining areas. Local communities often find themselves caught in the crossfire, with widespread displacement and poverty. Republic of the Congo. While the Republic of the Congo, also known as Congo-Brazzaville, is not as conflict-ridden as its larger neighbor, it still faces political and economic instability. The country has experienced periods of civil war, especially during the late 1990s, and political tension remains high. In 2025, the country continues to struggle with corruption and a lack of basic services. Despite its oil wealth, the government has been unable to address the needs of its population adequately. Protests against the government, especially surrounding issues of governance and the economy, have resulted in occasional violent clashes between security forces and civilians. Both the DRC and the Republic of the Congo remain marked by fragile political systems, unstable security environments, and widespread poverty. The DRC faces the brunt of the danger due to its ongoing armed conflicts, while the Republic of the Congo struggles with internal instability and governance issues. The combination of violence, weak infrastructure, and political struggles makes these countries two of the most dangerous in Central Africa in 2025. 13. Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea, PNG, is an island nation located in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. Despite its rich natural resources and beautiful landscapes, PNG is one of the more dangerous countries in the world in 2025 due to a combination of crime, political instability, and environmental threats. One of the most significant challenges in Papua New Guinea is its high crime rate. In urban areas such as the capital Port Moresby, violent crime, including armed robberies, carjackings, and assaults, is rampant. Gang-related activities and tribal violence are common, with armed groups often engaging in clashes over land disputes or resource control. For instance, tribal feuds, some of which date back centuries, continue to cause frequent outbreaks of violence, particularly in rural areas. The police force in PNG struggles to maintain control, especially in remote areas where law enforcement is limited. Many areas lack proper infrastructure, making it difficult for the authorities to respond effectively to threats or crime. In 2024, a surge in violent incidents in Port Moresby led to heightened warnings for foreign nationals and travelers. Public officials and tourists are often targeted, with the country's tourism industry suffering due to security concerns. Papua New Guinea has faced political instability in recent years. In 2025, ongoing power struggles between political leaders have contributed to an unpredictable environment for its citizens. Corruption remains pervasive within the government, with many public officials accused of mismanagement and embezzlement of state funds. This corruption hinders progress and development, leaving the population frustrated and distrustful of the system. Papua New Guinea is prone to natural disasters, including earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tropical cyclones. The country sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, making it highly vulnerable to seismic activity. In February 2025, a powerful earthquake struck the highlands region, causing widespread damage and loss of life. Volcanic eruptions are also a recurring concern, with Mount Rabaul and other volcanoes posing a continuous threat to nearby communities. The healthcare system in PNG is underdeveloped and struggles to meet the needs of the population. Remote areas lack access to medical facilities, and many communities face difficulties in receiving proper treatment for basic illnesses. Malaria and tuberculosis remain widespread, adding to the country's health risks. These healthcare challenges are compounded by limited access to clean water, sanitation, and electricity, especially in rural regions. In 2025, Papua New Guinea is still one of the most dangerous countries in the Pacific. The combination of high crime rates, political instability, environmental disasters, and inadequate infrastructure makes daily life difficult for many people. While the country has rich natural resources, these challenges prevent Papua New Guinea from achieving stability and prosperity. Travelers and locals alike must remain cautious and prepared when navigating the risks present in this beautiful yet volatile nation. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, kindly subscribe to my channel, like the video, and don't forget to drop your opinion in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay safe and see you in the next one.